G'day, and with Inforunners, I'm Execute, joined today by the Astro Pub, and returning from his trip abroad, Mr. Old Man Hurst himself, Acrid. How you doing, boys?
I am alive.
Yeah.
You know you're not allowed to say
I'm
that
a-
anymore, by the way, Agrid. My mum's
No.
told you off. You're not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah. I'd forgotten that your mum had told me off for saying that. I get in trouble from others for saying that as well. So.
Well, I'm with you. All right. Your fellow teacher, this teacher at least, is going to back you up and say that is a perfectly reasonable explanation to have to say. We are alive. That is a victory in and of itself.
Yes.
That's right. It's every day is a great day. A great day for fishing, ain't it?
Yeah. Okay, there's certain things I've missed about you. That is not one. Right, anyway.
I very rarely said that. I usually just typed it.
No, it's that's the part that gets me every time. I'm just like, oh my god, what a hick.
He's just doing He's just doing his goofy impression. That's all.
Yeah.
No, it's Viva Dirt League.
Oh.
If you haven't watched Viva Dirt League, watch them and watch the Epic NPC man and there's a character Balin, the fisherman, and that's his NPC line.
Yeah.
Great day, nice day for fishing, ain't it?
All right. So we've got Alien Week. We'll kick it off here with Gattack. This is a ship, the Raelian. Oh, excuse me. I'm actually looking forward to this one a little bit. And I know you guys. I'm just going to scroll up so you guys can see the price. $225. I'll put it above Algrid's head there, but no, don't worry about it. It's too much effort.
Oh, no.
But yeah, 225, like considering that's kind of where the Terrapin's sitting, I think that just reinforces how drastically overpriced the Terrapin is, does it not?
Wait, this is you are you just going so banging on about the Terrapin?
Yeah. That's me. Yeah.
Terrapin's super what Execute's like. Once he gets the bee in his bonnet, he doesn't stop.
Yeah, won't stop until it's gone. But that's fine. It's like, hey, how many ships do I complain about? And there's not many. I know the Starlancer Max has got in there, but
then the new one,
but it just doesn't need the Max model.
I just don't. I don't want to hear anything about my hate of the Redeemer. Is all I'm going to say. I don't compare everything to the Redeemer. So
we're gonna have we're gonna have a good day on Anvil Day, then, aren't we? Because if it's a gunship that's coming, you'll finally have something to compare it to and say, look at all this shit that's amazing. This is shit on the Redeemer. So yeah, I think you'll have a great day on Anvil Day. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, all right.
We'll see.
Raelian, anything positive to say about this one, or we just go meh and we move on? Like
it's neat. It's a whole C. Is my issue is it's a whole C.
Mini
whole
C?
It's just an alien whole C. Yeah, like a whole B. It's like between a whole B and a whole C, but it just got alien flavor. I can't get myself super excited about it, but I know some people like it, so I'm not going to yuck people say yum.
I think if I take a lore aspect, Gattack, company that's known for being innovative in their designs and being cutting edge in cargo. So they're known for building cutting edge cargo vessels, so using the most up-to-date technology and all the rest of it. When the Huxer agreement came along, they started to develop this ship. So it's the first, I suppose, real ship built by the Zion for human and Giant use at the same time. And so you see that in the interior. Things I like about the ship, for crew, so you're going to have that interplay with multi-crew, engineering, and all those other aspects. It is, as Paul said, basically a hull C. I think they've taken elements from a hull C and kind of, taking the lore aspect and they're kind of merging it together and creating their own unique design. But it's a great ship. It looks like that blockade runner that the Merchantman probably was originally. It's got that forceful approach.
Just as a side note, you need to up your noise gate just a little bit, because we're hearing a little bit of background noise because you've redone your volume this morning, so you've got to update that noise gate just a little bit, just to let you know. All right. I think the other thing is there's some ships there. Like there's a lot more crew for the lack of cargo on this one, so that's my biggest concern with this one, really. You got any concerns there, Paul, or should we move on?
That's pretty much it. I mean, it's the cargo. The cargo is the. Because it's a unique cargo design, it's going to have some weird problems, but other than that, some teething issues we'll see in the future. Asulian, I find this one has really divided a lot of people, but a lot of people that I knew that were just regular
people that had been sitting waiting to come into the game type of thing. I had a few real life friends that picked this one up last year because it just really spoke to them. They liked the coolness of it, and these people were like I'd call them like Counter-Strike players is probably the easiest way to them. So they were like regular FPS players, and this ship just really spoke to. This is about 3 or 4 of my real life mates picked this up. So and they don't know each other. They're all different people, so they weren't like it wasn't a group of them. But yeah, I just found it really interesting that this is what made them step in. And again, to you and I, it's probably not the best ship is in because it's so unconventional. But that's what spoke to them. I just thought that was interesting to share. Anything you guys have to say about this one? And the price again? Go ahead.
The price is $70. Yeah, it's for what it is. It's fine. Like as a starter ship, it's like I think ironically it's worse than the Intrepid, but it sold a lot more than the Intrepid did. I think it's coasting on looks. It's heavily coasting on its looks, and it's unique, like its gimmick. It's neat.
Gimmick flight mode. Yeah.
Well, it's neat, but
for example, it's all individual 1 SCU containers. At least the Intrepid can take 2 SCU containers, just as an example. Not looking at everything else, just the cargo alone. So yeah. It did coast by a lot on its alienness, and again, as an alien ship goes, it's. I don't want to say cheap, but like I was surprised where it landed at that price, So yeah.
Oh, but for a starter ship, for an alien starter ship, it is relatively cheap. It's in that kind of range we put the advanced starters, or at least the Penguin, which I've forgotten the name of, which is really bad. The
Avenger.
The Avenger Stalker. Yeah. The Avenger. Yeah. So it's kind of in that. Kind of in that ballpark, but it's also a unique ship in terms of its flight mode and the way it flies and does stuff, and that makes it. That really does give it that edge that others don't have. So yeah.
All right, that is Gattack done. We'll move on to a pod. They've really separated these out today because they're all alien manufacturers, so we're going to be going all over the place. We've got the Cartel Aal at 175. I think we can all agree this is in the not doing the best at the moment column.
It's the problem with the Cartel Aal. It's a good ship when you actually use it. It's fun and it has a unique flight characteristic. The problem with the Cartel Aal is that it is a light fighter with the size of a medium fighter.
Yeah,
and it lacks the punch that the other light fighters have, and it doesn't quite have the full like thruster range that it's supposed to have with
alien flight model
stuff. So
give it time.
Yeah, we know it's in Squadron, so it's because it was shown off in Squadron, that Squadron trailer. So it'll eventually show up as a ship in game with that right flight model. So
yeah. Which probably explains why a lot of the second seat got removed. It wasn't required for Squadrons, so they just got rid of it. Hopefully we get a variant in the future. Anything you want to add to that one, Alfred?
No, I think I'll go back to what you said we're saying on the Vesulian, because it actually, as its description, it says uniquely alien ship, and it is a unique alien ship in terms of where it goes. This one describes it as being speedy and nimble, and with a current flight model and the way it operates in the flight model, we don't see it doesn't have that nimbleness that you'd really expect. But those engines and the way they open up do make it feel oversized, and it's still not where it needs to be. But it's a nice ship.
Yeah. All right. The Nox, being a land vehicle, I think we can all kind of say this is one to pass on, unless for me this has always been the urban racer. I don't know if you guys look at it like that, but that's how I've always looked at the Nox. Your thoughts on that one? Anyone?
It's the same sort of design as the sorts of like racing. Like it's got almost that Honda style like lines to it, even though it's like longer, so it looks a little bit more like a traditional chopper. It has that sort of. Actually, it almost looks like a race car without the wheels. if you look at it.
Yeah.
So,
or a tractor without the wheels. Lol.
Yeah. Well, it's got that line of like an F1.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. To me, it's not only as a vehicle, it's a bike. So, you know, why bother?
Yeah.
It's hard to justify it unless you really like the aesthetic. It's not too expensive, but you know.
No. When it came out with LTI, you know, it was a great LTI token, but but that's really what its value was, I think.
Alien Santoki Eye, $240. And I was expecting this to be a lot cooler than it is, but I think it suffers from the same problem as all the Alien ships. It just needs its own flight model. And I think all these will have a renaissance when that flight model comes around. When that'll be, who knows? But yeah, this again instantly suffers from the same problems as its younger sibling.
Yeah, and with the power ships and certainly the design of those nacelles for the engines and the way they work, those ships should be a lot more agile. You don't see that problem with the attack ships because the engines are different setup, but these are the way the engines are and the way the nacelles work, but their thrusters work for both the drive and everything else. They need to have that real speedy shifting of axis, and they just don't really have that at the moment. I've always felt that these two ships will come into their own for joystick users because once they're geared in and clicked in, they should work so much better than any other ship for that 8 degrees of movement. But yeah.
All right, the Banu. We have the CCU there for the Merchantman. I actually haven't checked this, so I will check it now. 650, sorry. So you get $50 off. That's quite a substantial gain on that one. That one's definitely going to be almost worth picking up if you don't already have a Banu Merchantman one. Yeah, that's very good. What's the closest to that one? Let's have a look.
Probably the the Claimer.
No, that's my
ships.
No, that's my ship. Yeah. Sorry, I went to the wrong one. Sorry, we got here $600 would be
the Perseus. That's a problem.
Arastra. 25. So it's $25. So you got an Arastra and the other one that was there. There was two at $575. I think it was the
Liberator. I think
the Liberator. Yeah.
The problem about those is that those are also likely going to go up in price when they're actually released. So
yeah, you're going to be using it pretty damn quickly. Like so.
What's the Drake one?
The Drake one? There's no
up there. No, move up. The Ironclad. Oh yeah. Again, basically, it's all.
Yeah, they're all like, and you're gonna have to go all the way back to the
M2 would probably be up.
Yeah, M2 would be the highest, but and there was one for the M2 earlier in the week actually. So, but again, $50. As long as you're using it this sale, I'd be just going one of these two. But $25 and you save 50 is, especially if you're going that high. Like for example, if you're going to a Polaris, you're going above a Carrack, unless you're going to the Expedition. You could go to a Odyssey. I think the Odyssey would probably be the smallest ship there. You could get to a Perseus. So anything above a Perseus and around about an Odyssey. So yeah, $50 is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, $50 is what's the starter pack.
Yep.
You know, if you're thinking in those terms, it's a sizable amount of moolah to be able to cut off a price of a ship.
All right, the Defender. This has been in and out of the meta, so obviously the Banu ships are a lot more favored engine-wise than the Zion counterparts. Paul, is there anything you want to add on this one?
It's in a weird place. It is because it's a lot like every ship, but this isn't a unique weird place because the Defender was supposed to be a bunch of special snowflake editions. Like it was supposed to have like a beam weapon on it or a hit scan weapon.
They're coming back, by the way. They did say they would be coming back eventually. When you talk about things, you're talking about like special features, like it's meant to be a sniper ship and stuff like that, and they're not really in that. Yeah.
It's supposed to have a special like the shield tech that's supposed to be designed like Tavaran shield tech. It's a 2-seater, so it's designed to have a pilot and a co-pilot, and there's a lot of different like aspects of this which are uniquely to the Banu Merchantman, which are the Defender, which is supposed to be the whole like angle of the Banu, and it like similar to the Xi'an flight style, which is the reason why the Xi'an are supposed to be super scary, is that their main thrusters are also their maneuvering thrusters, so they have like almost instant maneuvering capabilities compared to human ships because of how they design their ships. But like we don't see that. Like the Defender and the Banu ships are supposed to be these sort of like hodgepodge collections of the best of anything they can find put together. So it's supposed to like you're supposed to never be able to tell what a Banu is going to look like, or like what the Banu Defender is going to look like, how it's going to fight.
And the best of everything isn't online, so you don't get that. Well, EMP missiles it's meant to have the missiles off the Sentinel. It doesn't have those. Yeah, you're right. It's just missing a lot of bells and whistles. Yeah, absolutely. It just feels a bit vanilla. It feels like a vanilla ship, but it just doesn't
because it's missing. Yeah.
And it's also supposed to, one of the other things it's supposed to have is a very symbiotic relationship with the Banu Merchantman. So, and so you can't see that until the Banu Merchantman comes. We don't see the Tavaran shield tech being incorporated. We don't see the beam weapons and that sniper ability. We don't know how the co-pilot partnership is supposed to work, but it's supposed to be the Banu work in that way where one is dedicated to one task, one's dedicated to another, and there's not really a swap over. There's lots of things with it that we haven't visualized or haven't seen in game yet, or haven't seen programmed or otherwise, and that leaves it with that feeling. But I love the look of a ship, even if it does look like a crab. I do love the old Defender.
Tell me about the Merchantman. Tell me about the Merchantman. Good.
Okay, Merchantman, probably the best cargo vessel in game. It's got, in my opinion, it started off life as a blockade runner, smaller ship. It's now
essentially it was the Raelian, wasn't it?
Essentially it was kind of a Raelian or Raylan. It is basically Idris sized. So if you bought this at the original price, you picked up a capital ship.
I'd say it's 890 jump size, not Idris. You're getting a bit aggressive there. But yeah.
Well, it's the equivalent of when you looked at what the Banu were originally and the way they were originally thought of not really having a navy or industry that built that. The colony ships or the family ships that this was basically a militia ship as well. So not only was it a merchantman, it was basically the jack of all trades. It does everything. Since those days, the Banu have been fleshed out a little bit more. We know that they've got Suloi that do the different focus on different aspects. So how that translates into what this ship is and how it works is another thing. But it has 3 shops, at least
8. It's up to now. It's grown that much.
Yeah,
it's up to 8. Yeah, it's crazy.
So at one time, it was when the Kraken first came out. The Kraken had its shops. It said that the Banu Merchant would have a third of that, which was basically 3.
Yeah, it's
now grown.
Yeah, it's grown a lot. But again, just in the last couple of years, Algrid, how many things have changed that we've had to reassess? Like, I remember when the MSR, the Corsair, and the Connie had all their cargo changed, and that was all news to us. So all these things that me and Algrid have remembered are all changing now, which is great to see, though, because we get more diversity.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything you want to add to what Algrid said there, Paul, on the Merchantman?
I've been saying the Merchantman is kind of up there with the Polaris and the Iron, or to a degree, the Ironclad. The Kraken. The Merchantman is in that class of ships that I've been describing as like end game based ships. Like the Merchantman is your, like if the whole E is your end game ship mover, like stuff mover, the Merchantman is your end game shop, but also cargo, like internal cargo vessel. It's up there with the Polaris in terms of you basically have everything you need. I think it even has a medical facility in it, doesn't it? So so it has pretty much anything you need to run an organization or as like a larger group. It's definitely not going to be something you take out for daily stuff, but you'll see these like as the main ship of a small group. Or as part of a fleet of other ships to kind of do actions that are, more important. And I think CIG's sort of direction that they're facing with 1.0, the Banu Merchantman is starting to become that, it sort of coalesces that sort of end game ship for a specific type of group of people.
So I think I'll just add to what you guys have said there and say it's also showing us that they're going to be a different need for shops. Like you look at the Privateer and Drake and that kind of underworld flavor, where this is the more luxury flavor. So that's why I can kind of realize now that there are going to be more shop ships than, almost like one in every category. It's a couple of different ones in every category because you need those different styles. And shops really do break that mold compared to other stuff.
If you consider what CIG talked about ages ago, about the way NPCs would interact with you, depending on whether how you dressed or how clean you were or other stuff, and trying to work out, that whole idea of reputation and all that works. That applies to shops as well. Certain NPCs would not want to shop, or go to a place where the standard was below their standard. So you've got to have those ships or those shops or venues at those different levels to appeal to the different ratings without mucking up your rep. So I could be off my track.
Yeah, might still have COVID. I don't know, dude.
Oh, Chuckles, a little. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, we're on to the Vandal, the Blade at 275. These are the ones I have the hardest trouble getting behind.
This is it suffers from the Cartual syndrome. It is a light fighter. It is a Gladius, and we won't really see its Gladius potential, like how it can counter the Gladius, until we see Squadron come out the new changes.
I think a safe statement would be if you are really interested in the look of these ships and you kind of want to see how they feel, I think the safe bet is to pick up a CCU and just sit on it. I think that's the absolute safest thing I could say, because they just don't
aesthetics.
Right
now.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the moment, the best thing to do is to check them out and fly them in game.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they fly, they don't fly like they're meant to, though. So even flying them is not the right thing to say. It's literally aesthetics, as Paul said, and then go, well, if the aesthetics enough to appeal to you, pick up a CCU. When they finally are fixed, you'll have that cheaper price locked in, because we can all guarantee once the version 2 of these comes out, like the ones from Squadron, they're all going to jump in price in a weird way. Yeah.
And that's a hard thing as well, because at the moment we've got the old aesthetic. We don't have the Squadron 42 aesthetic, which is the new look that Vandal have. If I remember correctly, though, Paul, the Blade is outclassed by the Gladius, because that's why they bring in the Scythe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of taking up the light ones, Gladius updates.
So I actually did a full look at it, a video on the Blade for the lore, and when I did a video on the Gladius, basically what's happened is the Blade was outclassed by the Gladius, and then the Vandal improved the Blade to beat the Gladius, so the UEE improved the Gladius to beat the Blade, and they've been doing this sort of arms race back and forth. But since the Gladius has sort of stopped being updated over the last couple of years, the Blade has overtaken it entirely. So so it's slightly better than the Gladius right now. So
I know early on in the lore they were talking, it was basically ship,
parity.
Blade is outgunned by the Gladius. The Gladius is outgunned by the Scythe. The Scythe is outgunned by the
Hornet.
Hornet, and it kept going up, and so yeah. Anyway,
I think that the balance has changed a little bit. But
Glaive 350, so $75 more, and you get to the Glaive.
It used to be so meta. It used to be the meta ship, and now it is entirely like, it'll have its space. I think especially with Squadron 42 coming out in 2 years, we're going to see a lot of the balances that make these ships good start to be applied to Star Citizen.
It's a bit weird of a ship too, because now it's got 2 size 5s. You would argue that it's now tailored it's a little bit like a mini Ares in a way now, because it seems to be tailored. I wouldn't say it's tailored at cap ships, but it's definitely tailored at larger ships now, where the Scythe has one big one and small ones. So the Scythe is like the one that is in that weird middle ground. And so it does make them feel that they will eventually feel a lot different from where they are now, once all that balancing comes in. But it's had its pros and cons over time.
I think one of the things that also these Vandal ships are missing at the moment is that blade. Like, they do have a deployable blade that would be used to cut and slice and dice their opponents.
And ram ships, basically.
Yeah, ram them and slice bits off them, and that's not really there. And I can remember way back in the day, you could do that. You could deploy the blade and slice into other ships, but it's not there at the moment. So this is another one of those. We've got to wait and see and wait for the new look. And
absolutely.
But if being a Vandal appeals to you, then yeah.
All
right, Prowler, $440. Oh my god. I just look at the reclaimer and go, how do you get to these pricings? I look at the C2 even, and that's $400 and go, how do you get to this pricing?
The argument that can be made for the Prowler is that it is a stealth dropship.
Yes.
We do not fully know how stealth and scanning are going to work in the game. We have an idea, and CIG has been working on the system to dial it in a little bit more. It's probably going to be released next year, because I was expecting them to talk about it at CitizenCon, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a stealth dropship is why it's so expensive.
Yeah. And the alien tax, like, well, now we've got precedents with the military stuff. We can kind of now understand that the alien stuff will probably be the same, where you have to craft these things. You cannot just buy them. I don't know if that's going to be the case, because that in a weird way means they're taking Xperia away. Or do you have to rep grind? But Xperia, like Ferrari, you know how you can't like just license a Ferrari? So
no one wants to buy it. The Ferrari won't just let you buy it. You have to like have reputation to buy a Ferrari.
Yeah, so either it's a massive rep grind to buy them, or you get the patent of someone that's got it and you have to craft it. And I think it's probably going to be some weird middle ground between aliens and military. Yeah, and when you rep grind them, you're probably going to have to grind them from the aliens that they're from. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
But the Devaran are a difficult case because...
Well, they might just be from Asperia.
So, you know, they've been a conquered peoples or that. And that we're using old tech. So we've found caches of the UEE have found caches of Devaran weapons and ships. This was a product of one of those caches where the Asperia was called in and got to have free reign and play around with the stuff, and then build out their own. They did update the tech, so it is has a lot of UEE tech in it as well. And the other thing to remember is, even though this is a stealth ship, we also know that the UEE pilfered or took a lot of Devaran tech after the war and incorporated it into their own. So we know shields basically come from the Devaran. We know air shields were basically Devaran tech. We know stealth is kind of more Devaran tech. So how that got incorporated into UEE, and does that mean, even though this is an old Devaran War era ship that's been updated, what is the UEE version of stealth, and how does that come into play against this? So it'll be interesting to see. But $440, ouch.
All right, so we got the Talon and the Talon Strike, both at 115. I'm going to be honest, this felt cheap when it came in. Not so much now. But when they came in, they felt, well, they came in at didn't they come in at something ridiculous like $90 or something? I'd have to go back and have a look. It's been a very hot minute. But the Shrike having only missiles, this is, again, I think a lot of alien ships suffer from the lack of flight model. Yeah. I don't know. What's your guys' take on that one?
It was $90 at War Bond originally.
Yeah.
I looked it up. I like the Talon. The problem with the Talon is its size. It suffers from the same thing that the Blade and the Kar-2 all do. It's a Gladius, and
actually, I think it's an Arrow. It's got very similar flight characteristics to the Arrow. It's just physically larger.
Big. Yeah, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
in a combat game like Star Citizen or like Star Citizen's combat model, I should say, your size is a detriment. If you're big, you're going to be easier to hit. And if you're a fast ship that's big, you're going to be easier to hit. And this also doesn't really have a lot of firepower comparatively.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's a $40 overpriced Arrow is how I see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the problem I find that the problem with the tail, that those long tail fins that actually make the ship so large, so you can't fit it onto small pads. That's what it feels like. It's just.
They are meant to move and animate, but again, that's a system that's not in the game. So just I'm not talking about the wings. I'm talking about just the trails at the back. They're all meant to snake a bit, and so probably when you land, they'll probably maybe come down a bit. I don't know, but
add more animation to it.
Make all the problem. So
and
I like the ship as well. So yeah,
it could eventually also have the same stealth technology you see with the Prowler. So which would make it on par with the like a faster saber, more maneuverable saber, which will be interesting. But
again, as you're seeing across the board, I think a lot of the alien ships are just missing tech because clearly not needed for squadron. So you're in a waiting game position with a lot of these ships. So yeah, if you like the aesthetics, as Agrid said, try them out today, but just remember they're going to fly and be drastically improved from what they are now. I think that's the kind of big takeaway, I think, for most alien ships. And we're done, gentlemen. That is everything for today. There is not... Go ahead, Agrid.
Just the thing with the Shrike is that that's the missile variant. And when, if I recall correctly, when the Tavaran introduced those fighters, the Shrike was basically developed to take out the shields or the armor on the UE ships so that the other fighters could do the damage. So if that was the purpose of a Shrike, and you're looking at what's the value of missiles, that kind of gives you an idea of where torpedoes and missiles are kind of geared at. They have to rip apart the armor or rip apart the shields. So the other things.
I think it's not quite that. I think missiles are shields, and I think torpedoes hull. I think that's becoming. Given you haven't been in the you haven't been in the Polaris. Wait till you have in the Polaris, and you'll change your tune.
I was going to say, given that the Shrike and Talon came out in the second Tavaran War after the UE had already ripped off their shield tech, it's possible that is
exactly it. And it's important. It's also important to note that when Algrid starts or I start talking about lore, we're not being like, well, the story says this, so it has to be. No, because the story wasn't written unless the developers themselves have said that. Like the writers are reactive, not proactive. So like they come into the game and go, how like the developers create a game, they create their universe, they create their ships, and in the beginning and at the end of that process, the writers go, okay, how does this fit into the universe we already have? And at the end, they go, okay, let's make this work. How does this work? And they're always trying to justify the gameplay aspects with stories. So when we say, when they said, the Shrike is designed to counter humanity during the Second Tavaran War, it's like, well, the story is that humanity got shield tech from the Tavaran, or at least miniaturized shield tech and better shield tech. So, and as a result,
so now we've got to blast away, so you can.
So this is their advantage, which means that the devs were looking at missiles as being shield shredders and torpedoes as being hull shredders. So, yeah.
All right, Agrid. What do you want to hear from people in the comments below?
Are we off a rocker in terms of our evaluation of the alien ships, or are we on the money? I suppose that's the key thing. What is it you're looking forward to in the alien ships? Do you agree that the alien ships still don't have their gameplay or their flight models or those aspects that make them really shine?
Paul, what about you, mate?
I'd like to hear y'all's discussion on I'm trying to think about it right now. Do you think that there will be an improvement?
Yeah.
Do you think the CIG will actually go back in and give these ships a reason to be picked over other ships? Or is this just sort of a situation where CIG was just going aesthetics over everything?
Yeah.
We're going to give you cool looking ships, but they might be absolute dog when it comes to the actual usage of them. Do you trust that CIG is going to improve? That's what I'm trying to say.
In typical astropub fashion, he's stolen my question, but yeah, that was my question too. Can you again? You read all the design documents, you read all the things about their different flight models, their different flight profiles, all the tech. Especially when you look at things like the Banu Defender, like that thing is such a hodgepodge of so many different, both Zion, human, Tavaran. It's got every alien is on that thing. So, and again, we don't have those techs like the phalanx shields off the Prowler that goes onto the Defender. So it clearly tells me like when the Defender's up and running and it's got all its bells and whistles, then we're kind of done. Well, I guess for the Vandal might be the other exception. But you get my point, right? It's a cart before the horse problem, and that's why alien ships just don't look the best as they are now. So yeah, I don't know. Do you agree? Do you agree with us on that one or not? Yeah, Agri, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I actually think Paul may possibly have hit the nail on the head with the Tavaran ships in terms of their stealth technology as being one of the reasons why the price is elevated. I always come back when we're talking price to one of the things that John Cruise said ages ago, that ship price is determined by the components and the things that are on the ship. And if you've got a ship that's got really good stealth technology, that's going to jack the price up. So it's one of those things that just makes me wonder, and that's where, are we on the money? Are we off our rocker? So
yeah, I think I'd add to that though. It's definitely after the Star System 1.0 panel. It's definitely like the military and the alien thing. We don't quite know the alien one yet, but the fact that you can't buy military ships and they all have to be crafted, that definitely now explains the price disparity. And I think the alien one's going to be somewhere in the middle between the two. All right. With that then, Paul, where can people find you on the interwebs?
youtube.com/theastropub live, youtube.com/theastrohistorian, and youtube.com/the Captain's Table podcast, as well as twitch.tv/theastropub.
All right, with that then, he's Astropub, he's Algrid,
he's Execute.
I knew you were going to do that. He put it the wrong way.